We did it. We've teamed up, and together we've created something special. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network, and we're changing the game. We're covering Idaho high school sports in a way that you haven't seen before. Together, we'll be providing weekly breakdowns and recaps while helping uncover Idaho's top talents at a deeper level. Trust us, you want to be part of this. Owyhee Sports Talk, EBC Media, and the Game Time Guru bring you Gym Session. Let's get to work. All right, so welcome out to another episode of Gym Session, brought to you by the Idaho Underground Sports Network. I am Shane Larson, the Game Time Guru, alongside Ty Spangenberg from Boise Sports Talk and AJ Niebergall from EBC Media. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network, and we are missing Cherry Films. Lane over at Cherry, he's got school, which is more important than this. So Cherry is not with us today, but he's a big part of what we do. So I got to give him the proper shout out. Now, housekeeping items before we bring on our awesome guest to start this week's episode. Want to make sure you're following us on Instagram. We are doing some amazing giveaways. So we like to give back to the people who, give to us, the ones who have supported us. And just this last week, we did a giveaway. Awesome giveaway. Shout out to KO Recovery and Clucks, the Nashville chicken place that we ate at a couple months back for football. Fantastic for taking part in that giveaway, the businesses that were part of it. And we appreciate everybody who's been taking part of that as well. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Idaho Underground Sports. Now, Twitter, we are slowly growing. We'd love to get over 1,000 followers there. So go to @ID_SN. Follow us there. We'd love to share the content that you guys have out there and get you guys the exposure that you deserve. So we are excited to be back. Last week we were on a hiatus, just a really busy schedule. AJ was traveling, which we might touch base on in just a little bit, but he was out of town. And then just as you guys know, we all have full-time jobs. Like, this is not the only business that we run by any means. So we had a lot of hectic schedules last week. They just couldn't coordinate. We're happy to be back this week. Got a couple of things on the topics today, which one is Coach Andy Harrington will be joining us. We'll bring him on here from Owyhee High School. Let him chat with us a little bit about the Classic at Damien, talking about the tournament that he was in California, a few things that they learned there, and then just a little bit about his team so people can get to know, because everyone's hearing about Owyhee. We've posted a lot about them. We know who they are. There's a lot of heat coming from that team before the season even started, all dating all the way back to the summer. And so now we get to hear more about his team. For anyone who doesn't know, Andy's going to break it down for us. After that, we'll be talking about the Battle of the Stinky Sneaker. Ty and Cherry were there live on site to catch that game. We also had the BK Middleton game, which I can break down, and we'll be talking some power rankings as well today. So stay tuned. So bringing on our guest today, he's in the background. Right before we started chatting, I had to give him crap because we played him in a 3-on-3 basketball game back in the summer. We won, of course. Shout out to my team. And Andy now is discrediting that victory. So we're going to bring him on. This is our special guest. Hey, Andy, Coach Harrington is with us today. Just a little fun banter back and forth. So, Coach, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I love what you guys are doing, and anytime, anywhere. Shane, I hung up my shoes, but I felt like I guarded you pretty well in that game. So
You did. 7 threes isn't too bad. So I'm just kidding. No, you actually did. Just so everybody knows, I joke around, but I always have said this since I met Andy. I had him on my show for Game Time Guru, and I got to know him a little bit last year, then playing him in City League basketball games and so forth throughout the summer. I've always said this for real. Like, he is one of the best defenders I have ever played against that's not currently like playing at a college level or anything like that. Andy knows how to play defense. So if you are being coached by him, which obviously all you Owyhee folks need to take note, he knows how to play defense. He is one of the most physical defenders. You wouldn't think it, and then he's out there and you can't get past him. So the only thing you can try to do is try to shoot over him, but it's actually difficult. So anyway, Andy, shout out to you, man. All right. So a couple weeks back, you were down in the California tournament called the Classic at Damien, and we want to talk to you about that a little bit. So AJ, Ty, and myself will ask you a few questions, but I guess I'll start off with that. Being a team from Idaho, you guys went down there and made a mark, but I want to talk about what the tournament was like, Andy, and what the atmosphere was like over there and what the teams were like. So just talk about the tournament, the feel for it and everything, and how your team responded while they got down there. Were they shell-shocked or were they prepared?
I think, it was a really awesome experience. They had 8 brackets going down there. So obviously we were in the Platinum, which was the top one, but there were a lot of teams down there. There were a ton of teams that weren't able to make it because of COVID. Down in California, they're testing a lot more often than we are up here in Idaho. So like last minute teams were backing out. So we're fortunate that they were able to continue to put on the event. But it was awesome. I mean, you walk in to their facility and they got the red carpet, literally a red carpet out as you're walking to your locker room. They're giving out gear. You walk into the facility and there's every big time scout on the West Coast you can think of, from Frank Burleson to Greg Rosenberg to Dino Strajonis to whoever else. And there were a lot of really good teams. I mean, Corona Centennial, who won the tournament, is ranked nationally in the country. I mean, they've got a guard with an offer from Duke and Gonzaga, but they've got like 4 more high major guys on that team. And I mean, California just has a ton of talent across the board. Etiwanda had dudes. Riverside Poly had dudes. Damien had dudes. So it was awesome to be a part of that and to compete in that, and just see the different brands of basketball that those schools play, as well as, I mean, we're literally the 10 o'clock game and you throw it up in the air. And there wasn't a ton of people in the gym for the 10 o'clock game versus St. Bernard, but literally at half court across the way, they were selling seats, and any Enfield from USC is sitting directly across right there at 10 a.m. watching us play that game. And, you're walking in, Gonzaga's assistants walking in at the same time with us, Arizona, all types of UCLA was there later that day. Like, there were just all those coaches watching, so you knew that there were dudes playing in the tournament. So it was a lot of fun to be a part of, for sure.
That's awesome, man. Ty, go ahead, man. What do you got for him?
Well, actually, I'll let AJ go next on the Damien part, because I've actually got a separate question for him.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Coach. So, I mean, obviously you're part of the top club program out here in Idaho. I mean, by far the top club program in select basketball. You hear a lot about how, high school ball is more of a spectacle, and then you've got club ball, which is more for recruiting and whatnot. That's not necessarily the case when you go to a tournament like this. I mean, you just name drop 10, 15 guys, and I'm sure not a lot of people even know who they are, but those are some of the top scouts, some of the top coaches in the country. So you go to a tournament like this, and for an Idaho team, I mean, I saw all the write-ups, how, you guys may end up being the first Idaho team maybe ever to end up in the top 50, Fab 50 or something like that. The fact of the matter is that you guys really went out there representing, going 3 and 4 for Idaho, and there was a lot of recruiting going on. Is that something that's normal? Is that something that we're just not educated on out here? Because I think a lot of people think that the high school season is not for recruiting. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at just like this summer. We want to give our guys the best high school experience we can give, and there's all kinds of things from gear to games to practices to, we want to give our guys exposure, and we want to play the best teams that we can play. And unfortunately in Idaho, you're not finding that all the time. There are a lot of really good teams in Idaho, but we want to play against, teams like Damien and Etiwanda as often as possible. And one of those reasons is exposure. And I do think that everyone has their opinion on that matter, but in our opinion, you can get recruited off of high school. And if you can provide your guys that opportunity, why wouldn't you? So for us, it was super important to go down there and not only get really quality games, but also get some of our guys who need that exposure. And it wasn't just, obviously you guys saw Liam got offered by USC and Washington State, and there's more people recruiting him now, but there were D2s and NAIs at that tournament too. And for some of our guys, it's good for those schools to see them there too. And those don't get written up or go on Twitter, but now some of our other guys are on someone's whiteboard for college. And I think it's really important to give those guys the opportunity to get recruited and to play on at the next level if they can. And unfortunately, the reality is it's going to be really hard to get Andy Enfield to come up to watch Owyhee versus Meridian on Friday. It's not going to happen, but he's a 40-minute drive over there. He can get over. He watched the game. He watched kids on, both teams, and Liam Campbell got an offer because of it. So I do think it's a little crazy to think that, like, we shouldn't be helping these kids get recruited as coaches, because I think you can with club and high school, in my opinion. And I think we've shown that through Jack Summer and what just happened for Liam down in California.
Yeah, and I want to give you a quick shout out. And that's why Owyhee is going to change the game out here. That's why you guys are going to be, in my opinion, we've talked about it. I think you guys are going to end up being the basketball mecca out here because of that attitude. And I mean, kids are sitting back seeing like Liam Campbell and those guys just went to this tournament. He's getting recruited. I know Rasmussen is on whiteboards now as a freshman. You know, if Jack wasn't with Colorado State, I'm sure he'd be getting other looks. But really excited to hear about that going on and a team from Idaho and your connections, you know, allowing you to get those guys down there. Because I think that's just the first step in advancing our state, which I think, you know, we can segue into you getting to play with the shot clock down there as well, which was really exciting. But I'll let these guys talk about that.
Yeah.
Ty, did you have anything else, or did you want to talk about the shot clock now that AJ just
mine is actually different from shot clock, different from the classic. So this is your first year with the program, obviously, new school. You moved over from Middleton last year, won a 4A state championship. I would love to know, for you, what has been the most challenging part about, you know, starting up this new program? You guys have had a lot of success. You're seeing your guys get recruited, but I would love to know, you know, what has been a challenge for you guys to start this new program?
I think the biggest challenge has just been, I mean, year 3 at Middleton, and Coach Graham, Marcus Graham, my assistant, and I talk about it all the time. Like, our habits were built in. So those kids were doing everything that we wanted them to do. Was they'd been trained for 3 years to do exactly that. And so those little things that people have no idea are happening throughout the course of the game, we didn't even have to worry about coaching. Right now at Owyhee, there's habits that we're still trying to break or teach, and they're still not built in yet. So that has been a real challenge to get the kids. There's just little things that people don't understand: reaching on defense, blocking out every time, making the extra pass. There's all kinds of things that at Middleton those kids knew like the back of their hand, and at Owyhee we're still trying to build them. Plus, I know we're super talented. We're really talented. But Jack and Braden Hansen are only 2 seniors. And we've got, I mean, in that Eagle game in the overtimes, we had like 3 freshmen and a sophomore on the court for, I think, 3 out of the 4 overtimes. So we got young guys that are still learning how to play and handle different adversities. And playing in the summer, which was very good competition, is a lot different than playing in front of 2,600 people in a gym against a more mature team that's been doing what we just talked about together, you know. So I think that just that experience of being together and executing together has been the biggest challenge that we've been working through, which I feel like in our last 7 games we've done a good job of. After Eagle, I thought they did a really good job of exposing some of our weaknesses, and we adjusted those for California, and we played really, really good teams down there, and I felt like we're playing pretty well right now. So yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I remember AJ saying that on the show that loss to Eagle was probably the best thing that you guys could have had happen for you, that you would just be taking things to the next level afterwards, which it appears in the last 2-3 weeks you have. Now, going to the conversation of that tournament again and kind of touching base on the shot clock, there was a couple of things in the headlines the last couple of weeks. You know, LeBron even came out and said something about it, how they didn't have shot clocks in Ohio, but since he moved to California, and he's a big proponent of having a shot clock and how it enhances the game. But I'm just curious, you know, you're one of the few Idaho teams that has had that experience at the high school level, at least. I mean, to be able to play with a shot clock. So I just want to know from a coach's perspective, how did that change, good or bad, the flow of the game? And what did you think about playing with one? Because that is a hot topic for Idaho high school basketball.
It's just a lot more crisp. I think that it's so easy for players to get into a flow because you're not methodically just holding, like, you're not holding the ball, but I think that teams are moving the ball and they're only going to shoot the perfect shot. And that could take a minute 45 if they get that. And that completely disrupts the flow of the game because a kid might not touch the ball for 2 minutes. I think with the shot clock, you're popping it around and you got to get a shot off within that 35 seconds. And if you don't, it's a shot clock violation. Honestly, there was only 1 possession down there where it ran down and we didn't get a quality shot. And I think in 4 games. And I think we were just, the way the ball moves, and it still credits the defense. I mean, if you can sit in a stance and guard for 30 to 35 seconds, that should be, I mean, no matter how good of defense you play, if you're playing a high-level game and the other team can hold the ball and they have guys that are strong enough with the ball, like I had a coach tell me, which I don't agree with, and I love the guy, but he's like, play better defense, be able to pressure. It's like, dude, if that guy is strong enough with the ball and they are to hold the ball, they can hold the ball for 2 minutes no matter how good of defense you're playing. They have the advantage with the ball. And I think there's got to be a reward for being able to sit in a stance and guard for 35 seconds without them scoring. And I think it just exposes guys that don't have skill. I mean, I was in a coaching group chat just today, and, you know, this whole switching concept, which we like to switch, we did like to switch. We've been kind of getting away from it. But if you're switching everything and the wrong matchup after 45 seconds gets exposed, then that's why we can't switch, because there are teams that are strong enough to run their continuous action until they get the perfect switch and then attack it. That could be a minute in, but that's why we can't do that here. That's why sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I want to go zone, because they might just sit out there and hold the ball, you know, which it's not a coach's fault if they do that. I mean, in the Eagle game, there's like 50 seconds left and we held it for one shot at the end. So, I mean, we take advantage of it too at times, but I just think the flow of the game and guys that have skill, guys like Liam that have skill can go make a play at the end of the shot clock, and coaches at the next level need those guys. And for those guys to see him be able to go hit a step back over someone or get to a spot and elevate and score raises his stock. So I just think for the game itself, the flow is better. I think the officials I know the officials agree too. I know our refs want the shot clock. Talking to refs down in California, they were like, how do you guys not have that? Like, it just kills the flow of the game not having one. So, you know, everyone has their opinion on it and people don't like change, but I just think that it's going to make our game better in the long term.
Did you feel like your athletes, after talking to them, did they enjoy having a shot clock? I mean, I'm just curious from an athlete's perspective as well.
Yeah, we like to play fast. I mean, we like to play fast and move the ball. So when you have that, you know, you're able to play at a different pace than, I mean, quite frankly, our game against Bora on Wednesday wasn't like great, didn't have great pace to it because it was kind of slower, you know? And I think you can play slow and still score with a shot clock, but there are more possessions in the game. So guys are in rhythm, and I think it's more exciting, honestly. And there's strategy, 2-for-1s, changing into a zone, soft pressing back into a zone or a man. Now they only have 18 seconds to score. You know, there's so many different little variations that people don't realize that are good for the game that you can do. So yeah, that's my opinion. I've been pretty active on Twitter about it.
No, I like it.
It gets these guys prepared for the next level, right? I mean, like, it's what's best for the kids, ultimately, the kids that and the fans and everybody. Yeah. I mean, you're sitting here saying that the refs enjoy it too. I mean, it's what the game is now, and we're just like, I think it really just exposes kind of how behind we are, but we can get caught up like that. I mean, I think it's just a decision that I think we need to make here, because I mean, everything you're saying, it's just going to make the game more exciting, more enjoyable for the players, the fans. I mean, everybody. And then it enhances you as a coach as well. There's so many different strategies. Like, it just opens everything up, and it just makes everybody better. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. That was a nice rundown.
No, I mean, it was good to experience. I think for the players, it's good. And I think what sells tickets is excitement. And whether teams are scoring or not, the shot clock is forcing teams to play faster, which probably means more scoring, right? That's why all those rules in football and baseball and basketball have changed. And if you guys haven't noticed, scoring's up, right? Because the casual fan wants to see baskets. They don't want to see someone hold the ball for 40 seconds. Yeah. So for the casual fans too, I mean, I think it's great to see, but development wise, like, it's a no-brainer. It's just going to come down to if people are willing to adjust to the change, which I'm very fearful they're not. So, yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions for Andy before you let him go? Because I have one last one, but I want to see if Ty or AJ, you got anything else for him?
Shoot.
Okay. I wanted to talk about fans. At Owyhee High School, we were covering football earlier this year, and the football team, you know, they ran into the same issue in regards to like experience. I mean, first year program, very young, and didn't see the most success at the football level. But what I did appreciate about them, though, was the fans. I thought the students always showed out pretty well for Owyhee because it was a new school and the student section was always good. And so that's why I was excited for this basketball season, because I was like, oh, if they're showing out for the football team, they're going to show out for the basketball team.
Yeah.
It's, the highlight reel here. And they have, in my opinion. I think that you guys have some of the best student sections, at least. I mean, and parents and whatever. Yeah. Eagle, obviously, we had the full house at Eagle. The whole valley was there from everywhere around. But it seems like every game, regardless, your student section travels. And based on your experience, because even at Middleton, I felt like that crowd was phenomenal back in Middleton days. Like their crowd, they're a different breed over there in Middleton. Like they run their own show over there. And I always thought it was cool. Like they pack the stands. What's your opinion on your fan base and how impactful it can be for a game? Are you one of the coaches that are like, yeah, we need you guys there because it helps us? Or are you just like, hey, we like because some coaches are like, yeah, you're the sixth man, or whatever. And some of them are like, well, we just like the energy, but you don't really impact the game at all.
No, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, I want them there. I think that sometimes our guys get tight early in the game with shots because they're so nervous and they're young. Because we've been playing in front of pretty good crowds, but Dane Roy and Cliff Rice, our principal, have been, and our school in general has taken a ton of pride in having school spirit. And it's obviously leadership from the top, which is Cliff and Dane, but it's a blast going to our games. I mean, it's always packed. They're loud. You feel like it's just not dead in the gym like some games that I've played in the past. And I think that's how it's supposed to be. I think kids cheering on each other in high school is what high school should be about. So it's been awesome to see the turnout that we've had. I'm expecting it to be even better this week, and I'm excited for it. But I mean, even the road games, they've been really active and loud, and it's better for everyone when those kids are there. It's better for them to be there cheering each other on than the other things that they could possibly be doing. So, and I know you guys know you enjoy it. If there's an environment, it just makes it that much better. So, no, we've been very fortunate with that, and I think that the leadership with Dan and Cliff they've been awesome. So, yeah.
Love to hear that. Love it, man. Anything else, guys, before we let him go? Andy's been with us a little bit more than I told him he would. This is the time allotment, so he's taking.
Owyhee might have the best student section in the SIC. I mean, Eagles there too. I think Mountain View at times, but Owyhee has showed up and showed out, and I can't wait for this Friday to get back to Owyhee versus Meridian. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, Mountain View tomorrow, and then Meridian on Friday for our home games. Obviously, we
got Mountain View tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where's that game at?
Owyhee.
Okay, that's across the street from my house, so I'll be at that one. But yeah, it's going to be fun this Friday. We've got the last two 5A 4A state championship coaches going at it. That's going to be a fun build up.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, you guys can do your player and team rankings, and I won't say much, but I definitely think we have the best student section in the Valley. I'll back that one up.
I like that.
Yes, sir.
We'll see Friday.
For sure. For sure.
We appreciate you, Coach. Thank you for joining us, man. And we'll let you get back to your day. He's probably looking at film or something. So go enjoy your day before you get a good practice, and we'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
All right, bro.
Thanks, Coach.
Right on. Super cool conversation with him, man. That's super cool. And now we got some good stuff coming this week, some big games. He just mentioned Mountain View and Owyhee as well as Meridian, and that will transition us into our next topic because Ty he got to witness both of those teams last Friday, along with Cherry, but Cherry's not with us right now. Battle of the Stinky Sneaker, arguably one of the best rivalry games here in the Valley. What's interesting about this game is my senior year was like the first year that they talked about doing this thing. And we thought it was the dumbest idea ever. We're like, what the frick? We knew who the teacher was that had passed away and who they were doing it in memory of, but we did he actually taught there when I was a freshman. But the thing is, we thought it was such a dumb idea. I come home from a church mission in 2010. So this is 4 years after I had graduated. I was home from my mission and I go to a Meridian game and I happened to go to this game, the Battle of the Stinky Sneaker. And it was just it was seriously the beginning of the season. There was both teams had played maybe 8 games. And I remember in 2010, it was just packed to the top and it was just crazy. I'm like, what is going on here? So I talked to one of my old coaches. He's like, oh yeah, this thing blew up, man. Right after you graduated, this just took off. I'm like, what? Because we thought it was never going to we're like, this is the dumbest idea. Our senior year was our last, our first year doing it. But after seeing Ty, at that game the other night, this thing continues to go on. I mean, this is crazy. So talk to us about what it was like over there. Cause from the pictures and videos, it looks sick.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I talked to you guys after, and I was all giddy about it. I mean, that was a very fun night. First off, I do want to give a big shout out to Natalie Hope and Paul Massad, who are the presidents for Meridian and Mountain View's student body. They had me out as a judge for the Stinky sneaker contest, and they just did a great job. They treated I was with Keshawn Liggins and our guy Jason War, as well as Lance from Owyhee High School. He's a girls basketball coach. I don't know his last name, but we had a great time. They treated us great. And I mean, we were all at the Eagle Owyhee game, and for me, that was the biggest high school basketball game I've ever been to in terms of, crowd and energy. And that's even, above the state title game that we were at earlier in 2021. So this game, though, brought it to a whole nother level. I mean, you couldn't talk. I was sitting right next to Liggins the entire game, and I mean, we had to get close to be able to hear each other. So great energy.
Conversations, intimacy. I love it.
Yes. Oh yeah, we were tight, baby. Absolutely. Yes. No. So both student bodies showed out. Meridian ended up winning the game by 1 point. Great game. I'm going to touch on that. But they also won the Stinky sneaker contest by 1 point as well. So it was a close one on and off the court. For anybody listening, I had it. My score was a draw. It was 14-14. So no one can be mad at me. I played a neutral card on that one. Both teams did a great job. I mean, that gym was incredible, the way they decorated it. If those that aren't familiar with it, each student they get 30 students from each school, and they have 2.5 hours to go decorate the gym. And just, I mean, they go balls to the wall. It was impressive. Mountain View's decorations, top tier, but it was the Meridian, just the energy that they brought. They had the advantage of being the home team, but I mean, it was just incredible. You just touched on some of the top fan bases, and we got to throw Meridian in there. We saw it during the football season, and we saw it again on Friday night. So really fun time. Thank you, AJ, again for getting me set up to be a judge for that. That was a blast and something I'll remember for a really long time. I know you guys were there last year, COVID year, so it wasn't quite as electric and exciting. But next year, us three, we're gonna run it, go be judges, have a good time.
Can I quickly say something about last year real quick? AJ probably won't remember this, but I think maybe Ty will respect this because it's funny to me. That's the first time I ever met AJ in person. Just so as an FYI, I had AJ on my podcast for Game Time Guru, but I never met him in person until the Stinky sneaker last year. And like Ty said, it was COVID year, so there's like nobody in the gym. And they did the Star Spangled Banner, and this is no disrespect, but the Star Spangled Banner goes, and that flag, it's like a lot of the schools have, the flag takes forever to go up. And I mean, the stadium's like empty, basically. So just awkward silence. You could hear anytime somebody across the court would say something, it would echo, like you can hear anybody's conversation. And we're sitting there waiting for this flag to go up, and it seemed like it took 10 minutes to go up. And I just remember, AJ, just the way that you say things like quietly, but you don't even mean to be funny sometimes. You just go, brutal. And I just started laughing, and I laughed out loud about it, and I've laughed since then. That was like one of my favorite memories of it because it was just so quiet. And the flag goes up. Brutal. Okay, Ty, go ahead and continue on, man.
Oh, man, I love it. Yeah, no, I can't even imagine the difference between this year and last year. I think we saw a prime example of how eager and ready everyone was to be back and a part of this, speaking to the volumes of what it's become. Like you were mentioning earlier, early days might not have been as electric, but this was the most electric atmosphere I've seen out here. So really fun time. But in regards to the game, I mean, this was back and forth the entire time. Came down to, final 10 seconds. Meridian has the ball. Our guy, Austin Ramos, who we all know very well, really establishing himself as one of the most elite scorers in the SIC, in my opinion. His ability to, hit the 3-point shot as well as dribble, drive, penetration. His game is really fun to watch. He hits a game winner with 4 seconds left. Mountain View unable to, capitalize in those last 4 seconds. A few other guys that played really well. We touched on Max William right before the show. this is just a guy that does a little bit of everything for him. He's getting offensive rebounds, getting them back up for second chance points. He's running the floor. He's making 3-point shots, and he's locking down guys defensively. He's a guy I would love to see, even getting more minutes. He started the game, put in a really good game. Ethan Pierce, we all know Ethan. I've never seen Ethan be vocally, never really seen him be a vocal leader, right? Ethan Pierce was on Friday night. He was letting everybody in that gym know who he was. And personally, I loved it. I mean, we all have those times, and I think, as a leader of that team, I think that they needed that. I don't think that they have a bunch of vocal leaders. Now, Davis Thacker, we're going to touch on Davis Thacker. He's back in the lineup. But Ethan Pierce, after the game, he's John with the entire Mountain View student section, letting them know who won the Stinky Sneaker. And it was fun. He put in a great game as well. To me, though, the X factor, and I just said his name, was Mr. Davis Thacker making his 2022 debut. He's had a tough road so far this year, battling injuries, but he's truly one of the top athletes, I think, in the entire state when he's healthy. First half, kind of quiet. I think was just shaking the rust off, getting used to it. But second half, I mean, this dude's demeanor just completely changed. You could see it. You could see it in his face. He meant business, and he's truly, I think, what elevated them to a victory. He was driving. He was pulling up shots, facilitating. That's what I really made note of, is his ability to facilitate. He was the guy bringing the ball up the court more often than not, so he was kind of playing that point forward role, if you will. But just his energy is it's so contagious, and you can see it, you can feel it from the student body to the players to the coaches even. Our guy Colin Grove, before the game, he gave me the inside scoop that Thack was playing, and you could see how excited even just the coaches were to have him back out there. So really happy for Mr. Thacker, and I think with him back in the lineup, they're going to become a scary team. And I know that they only won by 1, but this is a very good Mountain View team. Nate Ajoku had a great game. Our guy Baylor Perrin, he played efficiently as well. Had some guys like Owen McBride step up, get some buckets for him. They were right there. There was some calls from the officials both ways that, might have been a little questionable, but that's high school sports for you. But ultimately, I do think that the better team won, and I think that Meridian showed, a little bit more of who they are and who they can be. Low scoring game, but I think, that there were so many people there. The first half, everyone was, you could tell they were a little nervous, kind of like Andy talked about with his guys, some of the younger guys not used to these big crowds, especially after last year when most games they didn't have anybody there. So now you throw in 2,500 people, and it really changes things. But all in all, really great game. Like I said, one I'll remember for a really long time. Probably one of my top favorite moments, that I've had from what we're doing, right? There's obviously a bunch of other great moments we've had, but this is a top 10, this top 5 moment for sure. And I'm excited for next year when we all go run it back.
Let's go. Like when Ty messaged me, for those listening, I was at Bishop Kelly that night, and I had just gotten to the gym, and Ty messages our group, and he says Thacker's playing, or Thacker's in the lineup. It's something like that. I got chills because I had no idea. It was a complete surprise to me. I was like, wait, what?
I've got him again,
dude.
I'm here, bro. I got him too. For real.
Like I actually told the guys I was talking to, with some of the parents from Middleton. I was talking to them like, dude, Davis Thacker's playing, and I was like, that was what I was actually more excited about. I mean, 10 minutes before the game, I was like, I got to see this. So while I was getting footage of BK Middleton, and I will get into that game, I was searching for highlights from that game to see Thacker's stuff in there. I just wanted to see Thacker on the court again. So that's awesome, man.
And he really, I mean, he didn't do anything crazy, right? But he set the tone for this team, and it's going to go a long way for him in the end. He's going to get going.
That banked free throw was crazy.
So he did it 3 times.
Really?
And apparently it was deliberate. He called them. Coach Grove informed me of that as well. He's still battling, I think, with a wrist injury or an elbow. I can't remember. But those were deliberate banked free throws for anyone watching.
He called game. Yeah.
Yep.
Dude. Oh, so awesome. So cool. Shout out to Meridian. That's a bounce back victory because their first showing against Mountain View was subpar, to say the least. And that is, my picks last week, just for the record, these will be public. I got thrashed last week. I picked Mountain View. No, I have no shame in saying that. I had a couple of different teams, and I did not expect Meridian to come out there and be able to do that after the first showing against them. But Meridian, and especially after the last 2 games of Meridian that I watched, like Coeur d'Alene, Timberline, and just seeing how they were struggling to score, and it's just didn't have that going. And maybe this is a turnaround game. It gets them. We said it before. They might have turned a corner, even though they lost those last 2 games before that. Maybe Meridian's turned that corner, and Thacker's going to be a huge piece to that.
Well, Leduc Hayden was out too, and
right
he's
down the street. We had BK Middleton, 4A game of the week. That was actually my first time at Bishop Kelly High School's gym. I've been to the football field a ton of times, covering games there, doing play-by-play and whatnot. But I've never actually been to their basketball facility, even though one of my friends coaches over there. So it was my first time being there, and I was actually thoroughly impressed. I mean, go in there, and that too was a pretty packed crowd. Middleton made the travel out there, good little 30-minute drive for them, if not more. And they packed the upper deck pretty far. I mean, there's like 3 sections of the upper deck. They packed 2 of them to the top. And so their student section showed out. Obviously, BK's student section on the other side on the floor was full. It was a packed house. I want to shout out. So first off, Blake Hawthorne had the first 10 points for BK. Okay. He goes out there and does his thing. He's the only one who could get buckets for him. But what I was so surprised by in this game was Talmadge. Okay. Our boy Talmadge, we got to know him at Idaho Premier. Talmadge Stuckey had a phenomenal game. He had 19 points in that game, 5 threes. And they were huge. In the third quarter alone, it was all Talmadge who got them rolling. They got a huge spark from him when they needed it the most. They weathered the storms, and Talmadge came out firing. But what was awesome about this is I've seen Middleton improve throughout the course of the season. From the time I watched them play Eagle when we were there at Middleton, watching them play Eagle, till now, Middleton has improved so much because they're learning how to utilize their three towers. They've got Medeiros, Sawyer, as well as Mike Day, and they've got Mike, Sawyer, and Tyler all playing together, and they're finally figuring out how to do it. And against that zone that BK was throwing at them, they ate that up, especially in the fourth quarter. Medeiros. So what was awesome is Talmadge had the crazy good third quarter. With a really clutch pull-up jumper in the fourth quarter as well. I just want to give him some props for that because it was actually a really needed shot to stop the momentum for BK. It was back and forth. And but then Medeiros is the one who closed that out. And I thought it was so good. The passing in that zone amongst the big men, being able to pass like hot potato, kind of boom, 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 and Medeiros being able to close that game out showed me that Middleton is growing, improving game after game. And that's a promising sign as they go closer and closer and closer to the end of the year, where you hope to be playing your best basketball at the end of the season. Now, I will say BK has some dogs. I mean, they were right there the entire game, and they down by 7 with a minute or less than a minute to go in the game. They found themselves down by 3 with the ball, and Hawthorne just couldn't get a shot to go. So they actually had the ball down by 3 with 30 seconds to go in the game. And then after that miss, Medeiros comes down and dunks it, and it kind of pretty much puts it away. But BK was right in that the entire time. I was blown away by the atmosphere. Definitely not to the extent of the Stinky Sneaker. I knew that, but I was impressed with Middleton showing out all the way over at BK. Great rivalry game between the two of them. But Middleton, in my opinion, has distinguished themselves. They have established themselves as the top team in 4A here in the SIC. Now, there's obviously some dogs back east and whatnot that we're going to probably see later on. But yeah, Middleton showed out, and they're doing some big time things. All right, AJ, are you with me?
Yes, Middleton.
With me, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I want to just say that Middleton last year, I believe, went 3-0 against BK, and those bigs, all 3 of those bigs, obviously last year, Day and Hansen were both sophomores, and Medeiros Player of the Year as a junior. They tore that zone up all 3 times last year as well. BK, at some point, is going to have to reconsider what they do against Middleton, because I watched that game on the NFHS network, and I don't know if BK stopped Middleton in the fourth quarter. I mean, and if they did, it's because Middleton missed a good look, but they were getting whatever shot they wanted. And at some point, I mean, I even picked BK because I thought different year, Middleton, it may not be as strong. BK's got the same big three, but it was the same story. Middleton, even though they won by 5, you know, it's tough in that gym. They were the better team, and it was pretty clear.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, hold on. Ty, are you okay? Sorry, I think it might be a little delayed.
Hi.
Okay. So it's a little delayed right now, so I apologize. As we get into the next steps, I want to I told you guys we touched base on where AJ was real quick. AJ, where were you this last week?
I went up to Coeur d'Alene. Just family got a house up there, but I went up for the fight for the fish, which is their version of the Stinky sneaker. And I hear it's just as crazy, if not crazier, right? But Coeur d'Alene, who's I think top 5 or top 6 for us, and then obviously number 1 Lake City. Day before the game, weather wasn't great. Next day, weather had really cleared up, but they still decided to cancel the game. So I was going to go watch Lake City play Sandpoint. First night I got there, and the weather was too bad going up north an hour past Coeur d'Alene. So I didn't do that just to play it safe. Was also going to go down to a Lapway game, but was not able to do that either. So I was looking forward to Fight for the Fish, and that got canceled. So it was a nice little mid-season vacation for me and my family.
Sometimes we all just need a break and to decompress, you know?
That's right. That's what I did.
You needed that, and you didn't know it.
Nope, it was good for me.
Yeah, he was out there doing boomerangs on Instagram and all sorts of stuff, dude. So
next subject, AJ, Guru. Next subject.
AJ was living it up, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
So as we get into this week, we got some good games coming our way. Like we said, we had Mountain View, Owyhee. We've got Meridian, Owyhee this week. So those are some big games at Owyhee High School. I believe Meridian's over there, if I'm not mistaken. That's what Andy was saying. So that's going to be some big ones. We'll be covering some good footage for you guys this week. But we want to talk a little bit about power rankings. There was a discussion about some of the teams and where we had them at and where we continue to have them at and why we have them there. So I'd like to start with that. Let's talk about our power rankings and where we got people at. Ty, we were talking about the conversation about Eagle and Owyhee and the placement of those 2 squads in particular. So let's kick it off there and kind of let the audience know why we have our power rankings the way that we do and what we're looking at in regards to those.
Definitely. You know, we've touched on it many times now. One game does not determine who is a better team or where they fall in the standings. Eagle is a great basketball team. They are going to be right in the mix at the very end of the season for a state championship run. But, you know, it took 4 overtimes to beat Owyhee without their best player. And I know we've talked about this as well, that although foul trouble is a part of the game, Jack Payne wasn't in the game. And you gotta figure going forward in their next matchup that Jack Payne will play a different style of basketball to ensure that he is in the game for the duration of it, right? I think Owyhee went and proved this past week in California at the Damien Classic that they belong right where we have them at number 2. Eagle continues to, you know, run the train in the SIC. But I think next time we see these 2 teams play, that we will see, you know, potentially right why we have these teams right where they're at. And that's not a discredit to Eagle whatsoever. You know, like I said, this is a top 3, top 4 team in the state. So it's that they're right there with the level of talent. You know, obviously Eagle has the benefit of being at home in that game against Owyhee, so that's another factor to weigh in on that. But ultimately, I think we all agreed, you know, when we made the decision that Owyhee is, you know, the team to beat in the SIC. So that's where we're at with that one.
Yeah.
AJ, what do you got to say on the power rankings, man?
Well, just to touch on what Ty just said, and this is nothing against Eagle. I want Eagle to win the whole thing this year. Those are my guys. That senior class, that's family for me. I want them to win it, but I don't think Eagle goes down to the Damien Classic and wins 3 out of 4 games. I just don't think that happens. I think Owyhee has some different type of dudes. Not often do you have a team in Idaho with 2, potentially 3 Division I basketball players on a team, and when you do, They're special. Even that Rocky team a few years ago with Briggs, Ranstrom, Townsend, Triple, Cooper, Frith. I mean, Stratton, Rogers, all those, Jaden Hansen, all those guys, they were loaded. Nobody got a Division I scholarship. Triple walked on, but you didn't have two guys who were on full ride scholarships. I mean, so that team is different. I still think that they're potentially the front runner. Lake City's undefeated. That's a game that I think is going to happen. I really hope Max preps when it comes down to it, depending on how everything looks, puts them on opposite sides of the bracket and doesn't screw that up. Because they need to be on opposite sides of the bracket if everybody's healthy, and that's how it plays out. But another team I want to touch on, and I'm a little afraid to do this, but I'm going to do it because I know they want it and I know they deserve it and I know they earned it this week. And I told them what it was going to take for them to earn a little more love. I said, if you guys win both games this week, which I picked against them in both games, but Centennial is tied in first in the SIC with Eagle and Owyhee. There's a three-way tie for first, I believe. Owyhee has one loss, Eagle has one loss, Centennial has one loss in league, and Centennial is at Eagle this Saturday. So I think that's a huge game, if not the game of the week. I mean, there's so many games that could be game of the week this week, but Centennial at Eagle Saturday. Centennial beats Mountain View at Mountain View, which was really impressive. I think they match up well, both those teams. And then after Timberline goes and beats Meridian on the road, I anticipate Timberline going to beat Centennial, and Centennial blows them out of the water and gets up 30. So I talked to those guys, and they said they lost 3 games in Eastern Idaho. They went 0-3, but they said the last game against Rigby, who they said Rigby is a top-tier team, and I think they're tied in first with Madison, and I think those teams play this week, tied for first back east, which I'll have to check on. But they said in that Rigby game, they said something clicked. Chemistry clicked. Everybody's starting to understand the way they need to play. If everybody can get 7, 8, 9 points and just focus on the best shot they can get, they said that they felt something click, and they've been playing like it ever since. I didn't believe them, and I don't know if I should be showing them love, because last time I did, it went like this. So I'm happy for those guys. I'm excited to see what they can do Friday at Boise, I believe, or it may be at Centennial. But Boise is a team that I'm going to go watch tonight against Eagle. I think they're hungry for a win. We know all those guys from Premier. That's not an 0-6 team. That's not a last place in the SIC team. They dealt with 2 weeks of COVID. They're trying to figure it out. They're going to beat somebody, and then they're going to feel good about themselves. And those guys can go match up and beat anybody on any night, in my opinion. They have enough guys. But I think Centennial is back in the mix. I think they're obviously back in the top 10, top 12. Mountain View, I think, started hot. They're reeling a little bit. They've got to find themselves. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond tomorrow. Meridian has not looked good. Beating Mountain View is a nice win. Mountain View hasn't been playing their best the last couple games, but big win for Meridian. Can they get back on track and look the way they did against Lake City and Post Falls before they lost to Coeur d'Alene and scored 29 points? It's crazy. The league is crazy. I'm just going to keep babbling about all these teams. There's so much to talk about, but our top 5, 6 teams, even Timberline, let's beat Meridian and then get blasted by Centennial, and then almost beat Lake City, but then almost lose to Post Falls. And Lake City and Post Falls are like this. So it's crazy. It's who shows up, who's focused, and who wants it more. I mean, and even CUNA is starting to sneak up a little bit. Gavin Gordon is a guy that if you don't pay attention to Gavin Gordon, he'll drop 30 on you. And it's the first time CUNA beat Rocky ever, I think. Shout out to Tegan Sweeney, who dropped 28, almost had a 30-piece in that game, but they couldn't stop Gavin Gordon, who I think is averaging 19 and 11 this year. We need to pay attention to him. He's a guy that needs some love, but the league is so much fun right now. This week is full of games. I'm going to Boise, Eagle tonight. I'm going to Mountain View, Owyhee tomorrow. I'm going to Meridian, Owyhee Friday, and Centennial, Eagle. I'm craving for these games after that week off, fellas. So it's a perfect week for me to come home and quench that thirst.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think going back to what Coach Jeff Sainer said when he joined us on our show just a few weeks back, mid-January is when you start to see who is playing well and who's who, right? At mid-January is where we're going to see these teams pan out and what they really are. And that's what we're seeing. stuff's starting to happen. Mountain View, are they going to do they start hot and start to slow down, or are they going to pick it up? Like, we're almost to mid-January and we're starting to see things pan out, but it's so equally matched. And it's like AJ said, who shows up that night? Like, who shows up that night? The matchups that's what makes the SIC so much fun, because like you even said, Boise, for example, is huge. Like, Boise could beat some teams. And that's the thing. Like, and someone would look at their record and be like, nah, but no, they can beat some teams. They've got some dogs on their team. So
I was talking to Boise's athletic director, Brian Barber, at the game Saturday night against Timberline. And after the game, I looked at him and I was like, this is one of the better 0-6 teams that I've seen. They play with more heart and more energy than really any team that I've seen. They're flying all over the court, getting in transition. They're like Mr. Barber said, they're missing a Jack Payne to get them to that next level, but really well-rounded team, much like Centennial, in my opinion, to where they're going to live and die, kind of behind the 3-point line. And if guys aren't hitting, they're just going to struggle. Simple as that. I think that we're going to have these same conversations for the next month and a half, because I think all of these teams are going to continue to beat each other, and we're going to be surprised each and every week. You touched on Timberline. I think exactly what you said about them, to where they're playing Lake City tight, but then Post Falls is playing them tight. That's just Timberline style, right? I don't know if we're going to see them have more than 2 or 3 20-point wins this season, or vice versa, 20-point losses. That's not that type of team. They play to their opponent, and thus far it's worked for them. So that's a team to watch. They've I'd say legitimized themselves as a top 10 team at this point. That 11 and 12 spot, it's silly. I don't know who to put where at this point, because every week whoever we put there loses. So be interesting to see what happens for this next month and a half.
I will say that John Nettleton over at Mountain View always has his guys playing their best basketball at the end of the year. Every year I've been here for the last 5 years, coaching against him, watching him, seeing their team last year, the year before. My last year coaching at Eagle, which I think was 3 years ago, I think they started 1-6 and ended up making a run to the state tournament. So Coach Nettleton always has his guys there. And then I do also think that Eagle will be at their best, their absolute best, with Cody Pickett on the sideline. Nothing against anybody else on that sideline. Cody Pickett is that type of guy. I mean, he was an NFL quarterback. You have a guy like that who was getting paid to lead grown men. Like, he's the guy for this Eagle team to lead them to the promised land, in my opinion. Shout out to Coach Pickett. I told you I wanted to touch on his situation. He's going through a lot. I think the community has come together beautifully and shown their love for him. The University of Washington even reached out, showed their love for him, where he played quarterback and set some records back in the day. But Coach Pickett, prayers out to you, man. Shout out to you. I know you joined us on our last show. We appreciate you. You are so loved and so looked up to as a former professional athlete, as a high school coach, and just as a person, man. Like, you are just the prototypical type of person and leader that we need in our communities, just to benefit the kids and just benefit the community. And also Coach Buff, who helps us out here on the network, who lives up in Coeur d'Alene. He was part of Lake City last year, sent me home with this. And Coach Pickett, I request a signature, please, for Coach Buff. So he would like you to sign this for him. He didn't believe that I knew you, but for Coach Buff, if we could get an autograph, that would be great. But not till you have time. Take care of things first. Prayers up. I wanted to give you a shout out. I'm really struggling having this thing in my house. I want to drop kick it across the street because I'm a Duck fan, but I love Coach Pickett enough to, let it be on my desk for now. But go Ducks.
I love it. So this has been an awesome I'm still laughing. Okay. This has been an awesome conversation, chatting it up. We're happy to be back with everybody. And we want to remind everyone, if you have a business, or if you're just, a parent or anyone who wants to get on board with us and help support us, we've got some big plans for the future of this with content creators across the state of Idaho. We want to help everybody just expand their following, expand their and work on their craft, I should say, and just be able to get that out there to the masses, as well as, like, obviously highlight the athletes and the programs around the state. So if you guys want to jump on board and help us out, we are open for sponsorships and any kind of partnerships that you guys are interested in. We love what we do, and we will never say we don't, right? We love what we do, but we do have full-time jobs that we have to navigate around this. And, we are always looking for partnerships to help us keep this thing going, because we know that the kids love it. We've gotten great feedback from it, and we want to help the other content creators as well. So we got some big stuff coming. With that being said, make sure you go follow Ty at Boise Sports Talk. This guy is crushing it with the sports talk around the Valley. He's got everything. He's covering every program, every sport around the Valley here. Make sure to go follow him. AJ over at EBC Media. This guy is the original Instagram basketball coverage of anyone. Like, I don't know anybody else who does it like him, but especially in Idaho, AJ is the OG. Cherry Films. Yes, exactly. Mr. Cherry Films. Go follow Cherry. He's going to be doing some big things, especially after he graduates. So we love Lane. We love having him with us. Cherry's one of the most talented videographers that I've ever met, especially at that age. So go follow Cherry, give him some support. And then for my show, it's at Game Time Guru. You can listen to my podcast every single week. I interview a different sports figure, and we have episodes every Friday. So go follow us there on our various channels. And on behalf of AJ and Ty, I'm Shane, and we'll talk to you guys next week.